Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Prospect Central 101. My name is Chris, and today joining me we have,
Keelan.
Daniel.
and we're going to be talking to you guys a little bit more about the Lions. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with the sound and at the end of the last part, but it ended up working out because that ended up being a little over an hour. So, as far as time and stuff goes, this should be probably about the same. So hopefully we cut it in half. But today we're going to be going over the back half of the defense, the linebackers again, for those of you guys who missed the end of the last one, the secondary, special teams, as well as some other details, including the rest of the offseason as a whole. So we're going to get right back into this and get back into the linebacker position. Already talked a little bit about the guys we already have on the roster. But in terms of upgrade plans and what you guys see for the team going forward, where do you guys both stand on that?
Yeah,
Um,
Chris. Sorry, you go.
uh, I think there's not really any place we can improve. This is the linebackers, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, it was kind of. Yeah, there's not really anywhere, any way we should really improve because we spent two high picks on Tavai and Davis, a second and a first respectively. So I think we should let the young guys develop for at least another year, and hopefully, I know they were very underwhelming last year, but hopefully they can come back and make progress into decent starting linebackers. From there we can see how that goes. I know I've seen mocks where they have us going Simmons, but I just don't think that's realistic. That's not a pick we're gonna make.
Yeah, I wouldn't go Simmons unless we traded down to somewhere like 7. At that point, I'd consider it.
Yeah, he did actually. His measurements were, I think today, he actually
Really good.
really good. Yeah, 235 is really good for him.
238.
238 was even better.
Yeah, but guys always tend to juice on the combine numbers, and then they tend to lose a little bit of weight as they're actually playing it. So I'm not sure how much stock to put in the fact that he timed it all perfectly so that his weight could be the perfect weight. But yeah, it's a good thing for sure. I just don't know how much stock to put into it.
Very fair.
Hmm.
So, any other potential? I mean, I think you guys are pretty much in the same boat as me. I think we're pretty much stuck with at least our top three,
Yeah.
even including free agency.
Something else I something else I wanted to say on the linebacker is um I would really appreciate it if Matt Patricia decided to move slightly off of his dogma for big, heavy linebackers to play Jalen Reeves-Maybin a little bit more. That would be a personal thought of mine if Davis doesn't improve. But just as a minor aside for that position.
Keelan, anything else you want to add?
I don't think there's much more to add.
Cool.
Just keep. There's not really an out with the top three guys, and yeah.
So next up, we'll take this spot by spot. We'll start with the corners. Darius Slay, very interesting piece. We'll see what happens with him this offseason. But overall, Justin Coleman had a fantastic start to the year. He was probably one of the best players in the entire league on the defensive side of the ball through the first 4 weeks of the year. He was incredible for at the start of the year. And on the opposite side of that, Amani Oruwariye had a really, really strong finish of the year and oh my goodness, ended up as our highest graded coverage guy last year. He ended up with a 75 coverage grade. So let me see if I can find the snap count for that. That was over 146 coverage snaps. He was our highest graded cover guy, 75.3. About 20
Who was
points
that?
high. Amani Warrior.
Oh, okay.
About 20 points higher than Darius Slay, who finished number 3 last year. So, what do you guys see, especially in the short term, but also a little bit more in like the 2021 year as well, I guess, for the future of the cornerback position?
Well, I can remember being in this position like a year, not even like 2 years ago with Tease Tabor. I remember he had that one really nice game against uh, Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Back when we had Terrell Austin and Jim Caldwell, and he looked really good, and he defended Mike Evans really well.
Yep.
But that ended up being a mirage. So I don't necessarily want to count on Imani Oruwariye, even though I think he's good and I believe in his long-term potential. But if we felt comfortable enough rolling with it, then hey, I'd roll with it.
And what about Darius Slay and his whole contract trade?
Darius, you got a number and you gotta stick to your guns and play a little bit of hardball with that number. And if you can't agree to terms, then you gotta look at trading him. That's just the way that these things go. If he does get traded, there are some juice on the market he could potentially look at. But personally, I side on the side of keeping Darius Slay. I know that that is not the position that Chris holds. But yeah.
If we can get value for him, I definitely think we should get him. Like, I think Seattle holds 2 seconds, and I feel like that would be terrific for us. He gets to go pair up with his former teammate there, and we get 2 seconds out of it. I think that would be terrific if we can do that.
So, what about the rest of the cornerback position, Keilan?
I'm a big fan of Amanio. I was coming out last year. I think I gave him like a mid first round grade. He ended up falling. So, if I'm a big fan of him, I think if we draft Okuda, I think Amani would be a great cornerback too for us. And Coleman, he was really good the first few weeks. He was still pretty good throughout the season, and I think he's a guy that I think if we move on from Slay, we're gonna and draft Okuda and Amanio are gonna be our 1-2 punch, and I think that's not elite, but really good potential, and I think that's a good way to go going into the season.
I mean, like, personally, for me, I'm all about finding ways to create mismatches in terms of forming really strong backbone position groups that you can count on. And so for me, if I had Slay in the bag already, let's assume for a moment that we keep Slay around by one way or another, then that actually increases the appeal of Akuda to me, because then I know that I got 2 cornerback ones on the same team, and that is not something that you can form a foundational defense around. And that's something that I really like in as a potential for us moving forward. Overall, I would side on the side of keeping Slay if possible.
Cool. So, talk a little bit more about off-season plans. Daniel, do you have any free agents you want to talk about?
Sorry, any what?
Free agent options that you'd like to talk about for us?
Jimmy Smith. If his market is depressed because he can't stay healthy, he's a guy that I would be willing to take a gamble on. Eli Apple is another dude that I think has some fit as a low low risk flyer type. Yeah, those are two of the dudes I would look at.
Byron Jones a little bit too expensive for you?
Pardon?
Is Byron Jones a little bit too expensive for you?
Yeah, I don't know. If we're keeping Slay, we can't really go hard on a cornerback for me. So,
If we move on from Slay, what if we go after a guy like AJ Bouye if he gets cut? I think we were talking about him in the group chat a bit earlier. I'm not sure how much he's going to be asking for.
I think that he'll get top of the market money. He had a bad year this year, but most of the Jaguars team had a bad year this year. So for me, yeah, it's just not a good value, man. Because
Fair.
I think that he'll be the best. He'll be the best corner. He'll be the third best corner on the market, and I think he'll get paid like that. And we have too many positions to go really, really high on corner in terms of free agency, in my opinion.
Fair.
So, Keilan, do you have any other draft targets that you'd like to point out other than Okuda? So we end up taking a guy like Brown or Chase Young falls, and we have to look to the second round for that position?
Yeah, a guy like we went over him as well, Jeff Gladney. I really liked his tape. If he falls to the second round, that's a guy I would definitely consider going after. Apart from that, a guy like Damon Arnett ran the same scheme as Jeff Okuda. Pardon me. Those two guys are. I'm not sure where Arnett's even gonna go anymore. I've heard second, third. His stock seems to be buzzing as of late.
Anyone else?
No one I can think of. Diggs doesn't really fit our scheme at all. I'm just trying to think. I can't really think of anyone I like that.
So I guess then we'll move on to unless there's anything else that corner-wise you want to guys talk about.
Okuda or bust, man, for corner in terms of major upgrades, I think.
Yeah, as long as Chase is gone, I'm gonna be pounding the table for Okuda.
Cool. So we move on to one of my favorite positions in this defense and in the modern NFL in general, the safety position. I was a huge fan of Tracy when I finally got around to watching his tape. In fact, that breakdown is still on the channel for those of you guys who want to go back and watch that. That was very, very fun to watch. Will Harris was a guy we also did a breakdown on. His breakdown was last year, of course. He was our third rounder last year. CJ more of a special teams guy. That fourth safety spot is primarily one year special teams roles. But we do have a little bit of an empty spot for now, at least, with the Tavon Wilson potential departure. So, what do you guys think about the safety position outlook for 2020? Obviously, Dalton and Harris will going to be here for a little while, but finding that third safety kind of complement them and replace Quandre Diggs and Tavon Wilson last year.
Yeah. Before I add that, I'm just gonna mention something about Okuda. As soon as I was raving about him, I was playing Madden, and as soon as I said a good thing about him, he got completely burned in my friend. I just thought I'd add that. Okay, and to safety, I think there's a few guys on the market that we could go after. I'm sure we'll get filled in a couple of minutes, but in terms of draft guys, there's one guy that could be good, and I'm blanking on his name.
Which one? Because I have two.
What's his name?
What school did you play for?
I do not even. Hold on.
There's Grant Delpit
Cal.
and Xavier McKinney. Oh, Cal is Ashton Davis.
Yeah, that's the guy I was talking about. That's a guy that could probably be a day two guy that we could play. Our safety 3 role. Sorry, I was completely blanking on his name.
Interesting. What do you think about Grant Delpit and Xavier McKinney as a potential? Like maybe we get that 18 spot, maybe we get the 26 spot, maybe if they fall to 35.
I'm a huge fan of Grant Delpit. I was even bigger on his bandwagon last off season.
Yep.
Sort of tampering off this year. I feel like that's the case with most of us. But he's someone that I would definitely consider at pick 18 if we trade down with the Dolphins. It all depends on how the board shapes out. If we go Okuda at 5 and a guy like Kinlaw still there at 18, I'm taking Kinlaw over Delpit 10 times out of 10. But if Kinlaw's gone and Delpit's the best player on the board, then I'm definitely going to go Grant Delpit. He would be awesome there with Harris and Tracy.
Cool. Daniel?
Yeah, so since we seem to be dividing into me as the free agency guy and Keilan as the draft guy, a dude I would look at for free agents that I think would really be fun, even though I don't necessarily think it's realistic. We'll just dream for a bit because I think he'd be fun in our defense. Is Jimmy Ward from San Francisco?
I like Jimmy.
I like that fit a lot. Jimmy Ward, from what I understand, is a former corner, so he can play a little bit of that man-to-man and go hard on a safety. I mean, on a tight end and go one-on-one on tight end, and so that's really valuable in somewhere like Matt Patricia's defense. Could you imagine if we had two safeties that were both able to go man-to-man on a receiving option? I think that would be a really serious problem for opposing offenses, and Matt Patricia would love that in his safety core. So that's just one guy that I see that could be a premium guy that I would be willing to splurge on. In terms of guys that I think are more realistic, because I don't think we're going to go big on safety, we could always resign Tavon Wilson, which is fine, whatever. Some other names you could go after are DJ Schweringer. If you really wanted to go really big on safety, Justin Simmons is a dude that I'm sure Braden would be stoked that we stole from Denver.
From what I've heard, he's going to be franchise tagged if the new CBA doesn't go through. So keep that in mind.
And yeah, outside of that, there's no one really here that speaks to me. Adrian Phillips is a guy we could look at, but
I really liked him last year. I know you guys remember. Well, I don't know about Keilan. I know you remember that.
yeah.
He was one of my top targets for us last year.
So yeah, overall, I don't think safety is a major issue. I really like Tracy Walker.
Yep.
But if you can add like a really good safety, I think that would go a long way towards really helping Matt Patricia make his defense as multiple as he seems to preach it to want to be.
Yep.
So that would be something that I would examine.
Yeah, another guy too that you didn't mention is a potential free agent option that Scott likes, speaking on his behalf, is Rodney McLeod. And we'll get a little bit more into him in a couple minutes after we get through special teams. But yeah, he's someone else to keep an eye out for as well. So any other thoughts from you guys on the safety spots?
What about another free agent option? A guy like Adrian Colbert from another 49er. Do y'all have any opinions on him?
I haven't seen enough of his personal tape yet to say.
Fair.
I have no opinion.
All
I
right.
can
Well,
look up
I
his
mean,
PFF grade real quick if that would.
you go for it. I feel like I heard that he had a pretty decent year this year or the year before last. I feel like he could be interesting as our third safety, but
Oh, PFF has him as a Dolphin.
does he? Did they? I thought he was on the Niners.
Niners drafted him, but apparently he somehow ended up in Miami.
Interesting.
I had a 64.9 total grade last year. I think he was like one of those guys they used to kind of help alleviate the hole that Minka left.
Fair.
The Minka trade. So he didn't really get a whole lot of playing time for them.
What an awful trade for Miami. Oh my god. I'm not even getting into that.
If they get Grant Delpit or Xavier McKinney, though.
Yeah, but I'm taking Minka and what I know about him now over Delpit or McKinney.
I think part of that you have to consider too is the whole cultural aspect and the timing and the window. Going off a little bit off topic, but the window for Minka being 2 to 3 years, I don't know if Miami really has that much of a window. Whereas if you've got a guy like Delpit or McKinney in this class, you have that 5-year window. I mean, plus you're getting the cap savings, the more immediate cap savings. And you also get someone who's a little bit more ingrained in your culture and can kind of develop under your leadership rather than a holdover from the previous regime. So there's a little bit more into that too. And I think that bringing it back to the Lions, I think part of that comes back, and we can translate that to us too, and the Quandary Diggs trade. Again, bringing it back to the Detroit side, is adding a guy like Walker and like Harris made, and whoever we end up adding to replace Diggs this year, I think makes him a little bit more expendable, and finding that guy who can kind of fit that culture and fit that communication aspect and learn the system and learn the regime and kind of get ingrained in the culture that we're trying to build in Detroit, I think is going to be net positive. And while getting a 5th-round pick for Quandre Diggs in value-wise does not look like a necessarily great value for a trade, I think that it's more of an addition by subtraction situation where he pretty clearly wanted out, and we pretty clearly kind of didn't want him, and he doesn't really necessarily fit that window. So uh, I think that Miami was kind of thrust into a little bit more of a similar situation with what they had to deal with Minka, and getting a first round pick back for him is pretty fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm a big fan of Minka, so I mean, it feels bad that they had to get rid of him, but I get the reasons why they had to. It's just he was a really good player, so it's a shame.
No one likes trading away really good players, man.
True.
True, and we talked about this on, well, I shouldn't say we. The DLP talked about this a little bit on their latest podcast. For those of you guys who don't follow them, they're awesome. I write for their site. They're fantastic. They had Wayne
Okay,
Fonts on for their interview last week, and he talked about this. Like, one of the best things that we did was get rid of some of the best players that we had, and it ended up, like, really getting us over the hump in that 91 playoff win. So go watch that interview for those of you guys who haven't seen it, the Wayne Fonts interview. That was fantastic. Definitely, if you're a Lions historian, longtime follower, definitely something for you guys to enjoy.
okay, plug. No, I'm kidding.
So, with that being said, moving on into the special teams roles, we have Matt Prager at kicker. Sam Martin is technically a free agent, and so is Don Muehlbach. I just kept them in there for place fillers, I guess. And then diversion Michael Ford as the possible gunners, and Jamal Agnew as the return specialist. So, any thoughts from you guys on any of the special teams positions? And then vice role is probably going to be the winner of Lacey Fulgham and CJ Moore.
The year is 2103. The post-apocalyptic world of the post-coronavirus world of madness and awfulness. And Don Muehlbach is still the starting long snapper for the Detroit Lions. I have no problem with Don Muehlbach. I think we should bring him back, obviously. And Matt Prater's just the best. And Matt Prater, like, I never feel at all nervous when he stepped up to the plate, even when it's like 50 yards out, because I know he's just going to nail it. And it's not even a question. He's one of the best kickers in the NFL for me. So, yeah, got no issues with our special teams group.
And Prager had that one really, really bad game. I forget which one it was. I feel like he missed like 3 of his 4 missed kicks were in that one game. I think he was like 1 of 4. And like he only missed like 1 kick the rest of the year, so his numbers are a little bit misleading this year too. I think people forget that because they look and say, "Oh yeah, he had like a 75 or 80% or whatever it was field goal percentage," but almost all of them came in like that one really, really dreadful game. And he just could not make a field goal. I don't remember which one it was.
Also, he's pretty consistent with kicking for my 50 plus out, 60 plus out. Like, the coaching staff really trusts him
Yep.
and his leg. So he's also taking some of the more difficult kicks in the league, for sure.
Your thoughts on the punter situation? Do you want to bring back Martin? Do you want to go draft maybe a veteran free agent there?
Pardon?
The punter position, bringing back Martin, maybe go with the draft pick. Any particular play there?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know the first thing about punter play outside of the fact that dude can kick it really, really far. So, whatever. If we want to go in a different direction, I'm okay with it. If we want to stick with the one we have, I'm okay with it. So,
And Agnew is a return specialist. Again, same thing with Jamal Agnew, right? He had that absolutely terrible game against Arizona. And then he had like what was it? I think it was 2 kick returns or punt return touchdowns this year. I don't remember
Yeah,
if it was more than
overall,
2.
I think that Agnew has had the same amount of touchdowns returns as he has had fumbles that led to touchdowns on the other side. So overall, it's pretty much a wash. I'm fine with Agnew. But yeah, his inconsistency can be somewhat maddening at times, for sure.
Cool. Keelan?
Yeah, we're not. I don't see any reason why we should move on from Prater. Martin's a free agent. If we can get a guy, a UDFA, give him a shot, or else we can just re-sign Martin. I don't really care who our punter is next year, honestly, as long as he can kick the ball far enough. And it's all that matters to me. I don't really care about the names, honestly. I mean, Chris, I'm a big fan of Marquette King. I mean, I love him to come over from the XFL, but I don't really care that much about the punter. And for return specialist, Agnew is just fine. I'd be happy with him as our return guy next year.
Sweet. So, any overarching thoughts on the defense as a whole that you want to rehash or anything before we go into some of the other things that we did this offseason?
Fix the interior defensive line.
Daniel?
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, do you have any other overarching thoughts that you want to rehash over the whole defensive side and special teams? Points of
Nope.
emphasis? Are you there?
Sorry, what?
Do you have any other points of emphasis or things you want to rehash on the defensive side of the ball or special teams?
Just that I think that we need to improve our defensive line. That's really what it comes down to for me. That's has to be priority number one. Whether it's Derek Brown, whether it's Chase Young, whether it's bringing back Ndamukong Suh, I don't care. We need to improve it. But yeah, it's I don't really have any thoughts outside of that.
Sweet. So, that'll conclude the roster portion of the active current roster portion of this breakdown. But we do have a couple other things that I want to go over first before we wrap the video up. The first of which is the coaching staff. So we all know about Matt Patricia as our head coach, and of course Darrell Bevel is coming back as our offensive coordinator. But we do have a new defensive coordinator in Corey Unlin. So I'm curious, it's been a while since we've gone over Unlin. It's been probably 2 months now. Not 2 months, but over a month since we've gone over Corey Unlin. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on him as a hire and what you expect him to bring to the team coming into next season.
You want to go first, Keilan?
Sure. I'm not too familiar with him. If I'm gonna be honest with you, where was he before?
He was the Eagles cornerback, I think cornerback and safeties coach last year.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been there since 2015. So.
And before that, he was with Denver, and then before that, he was with New England.
Yeah.
Fair. I think those. I think those teams are mainly run a decent amount of man in their secondaries.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's a good addition scheme wise. He's good working with Matt Patricia on the defense, and I think if he can keep improving our secondary as we bring in some more young guys. Hopefully, Jeff could he could definitely help develop him.
So something that I'll say about Unlin is I would have preferred a guy with some more coordinator experience, but clearly it seems like Matt Patricia wants to, with his hire, take full control of the defense and just kind of get a guy in here who can bounce ideas off of rather than a guy who can coordinate defense, so to speak. The, the Eagles secondary has been really bad, but it's unfair to put that on him just because he's working with UDFAs and guys off the scrap heap and
And
dudes that
injured
aren't
players.
going to be in the league in 2 years. So it's just really hard for Unglin to win at that point. But yeah, overall, it's hiring. I don't really have a lot to say on it.
I think for me, the one thing that really intrigues is his, I guess, traits as a coordinator. I'll really come back to that teaching and that development and that communication aspect. And I was something I felt that we kind of lacked a little bit with Paul P. is that player development. I feel like a lot of that development and teaching really came down to those positional units and the DB, DL, and LB coaches, and they kind of slacked a little bit behind there. And Unley, I feel like you're going to get someone who's a little bit more aggressive in terms of that teaching mentality and being a little bit more active in the practice field, a little bit more, I guess, hands-on more so with the players, specifically the secondary, and going to help run those drills and be a communicator and be a leader on that side of the ball that I don't really necessarily think Paul P was. I feel like Paul P, from what we've heard, was almost kind of like more of a right-hand man, assistant coach, messenger type of guy who kind of like was almost trying to be push Patricia's message forward. And I feel like with Unling, you're kind of going to get a little bit more of a unique voice, someone who's going to bring a unique perspective to things, and someone who doesn't necessarily disagree philosophically, but is able to kind of communicate his own message in a unique way, and won't necessarily just be the echo sounding board for the Matt Patricia regime. And he'll bring in some of his own unique ideas, his own unique drills, his own unique philosophies, that'll help contribute to making this team better going forward. And I'm really excited about that aspect of that, and what he can do from that standpoint, and coming to Detroit and bringing those ideas in, from not necessarily just being a Patriots guy or a Matt Patricia guy, someone who's worked with Jimmy Schwartz, someone who's worked with Doug Peterson in offensive minds as a defensive guy. So that should be really interesting to see what he brings to the table next year. Also, moving a little bit further down the line, we got to see the impact of Sean Ryan last year. We got to see the impact of what Jeff Davidson could do with some of the younger guys on the offensive line, specifically right now in Dahl. But we also added a new tight ends coach this year. He hasn't officially been announced yet, in Ben Johnson. And do you guys have any thoughts on him, or a little bit too early for research?
I'm just gonna take a look at, see if I recognize him from anywhere, because
He
I'm
was with
not
Miami
too.
for a couple of years.
Was he? I'm not too familiar with him at all. So, Daniel, if
Um,
you have some.
we talking about Al Golden here?
No, the new Lions tight end coach, Ben Johnson's
Oh,
his name.
yeah, I don't know anything about him, so
Let me see if I can.
just pull up his background and show and give us a couple of spiel.
I tried looking him up and it came up with some Olympian. So,
Yes, so from what I have on here, He played college football at UNC as a quarterback, and then ended up coaching at Boston College in 2009 to 2011. And then after that, he went to Miami, where he worked under Zach Taylor, who is the Bengals head coach now. Worked with Ryan Tannehill and helped him set numerous franchise rookie records in Miami.
Mm.
And yeah, he was their quarterbacks coach for 4 years before he became their wide receivers coach for 3 years. He was the receivers coach from 16 to 18. So a little bit of a history there, working with the receiver positions as well as the quarterback position.
So I wonder if maybe this will help out with maybe improving chemistry between Hawkinson and Matt Stafford, and them being able to work together in an effective way going into next season, with his experience with both quarterbacks, receivers alike.
Daniel, does that give you any light on anything?
No, not really. I don't really have anything to say on that.
Cool. So the next position that we're going to talk about is the offensive line spot. We already talked a little bit about this with Hank Fraley. He was our assistant offensive line coach last year under Jeff Davidson. Jeff Davidson, of course, retired. I don't believe he was fired. I have no reason to think he should have been or was. So do you guys have any thoughts on Hank Fraley and that hire?
Frank Kelly is a guy that seemed really respected in the locker room.
Yep.
It just felt like, hey, if this dude is talented, which maybe he is, then maybe we should promote him. And that makes sense on a fundamental level. Obviously, I'm not around the team, so I can't speak to the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of his coaching. But he does seem to get the respect of the players, and he does seem to be respected by the coaches as well. So overall, not too bad a hire. Jeff Davidson, there were some things that I didn't like about Jeff Davidson tenure, but he was by no means like a disaster like Ron Prince or someone like
Yep.
that.
Oh my god.
So yeah, not
Keilan,
really a
anything
whole
from you?
lot to say.
Clearly, he was good enough last year to warrant us staying in-house and giving him an extension. I'm not too familiar with him, but from what Daniel said, sounds like a good hire, someone respected by both the players and the coaches, and I like it if we can keep our offensive line improving. I'm for it.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Hank Fraley, he was a longtime NFL player. He played 10 years in the NFL, most notably his 4 years with the Cleveland Browns. Very, very good center in his time in the league. Also played for 6 years with the Philadelphia Eagles as well, from 2000 to 2005. So, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find like any offensive line stats, but well respected locker room guy, yada yada, blah blah blah, everything like that. Should have won team MVP. Was the offensive line coach at San Diego in 2012, San Jose State in 2013, Minnesota Vikings in 2014, UCLA Bruins in 2017, which I believe is where he went to college. Oh no, he went to college at Robert Morris. Okay. And then he was our assistant offensive line coach for the last 2 years before getting the promotion to offensive line coach this year. And yeah, exactly what you guys were saying. Definitely someone who's well respected. He actually got our game ball in the win against Philadelphia. For those of you guys who didn't see the post game locker room celebration after the Philadelphia Eagles game, that was fantastic. That was really well done by Matt Patricia. he honored Hank Freely and his dad, who passed away and lived in Philadelphia. Uh, so that was really, really cool. And definitely go check that out if you guys haven't seen that. That should be on the Lions website and Twitter account and Facebook and all that. Uh, but yeah, definitely someone who has to earn the respect. And the biggest difference between him and Jeff Davidson, I think, is really the again, it comes down to what I talked about with Corey Unling, is the hands-on coaching. We talked about this during the Senior Bowl week, especially was when we were able to most notice this. Someone who really got in, showed players how to do the different drills, was able to be really hands-on with the technical elements, show players exactly what he wanted to see, was really, hey, you did this wrong, hey, you did this right, nice rep, good rep, that was not good, you need to go back, redo it again. Very active and vocal and really high expectation coach who was really a tone setter from what we heard during Senior Bowl week. And definitely someone who helped improve that unit, and a lot of the players, from what we heard, seemed to respond very well to him during Senior Bowl week. So definitely someone who it really excites me again. A lot common trend here, but someone who really excites me for what he can bring to the table next year as our offensive line coach. And honestly, there's a lot of really good offensive line coaches available this year. But I really do think that promoting from within and giving him that opportunity was definitely the best move. And it kind of speaks again to what Matt Patricia is trying to build here. He's trying to develop coaches. He's trying to give people who have earned his chance with him the chance to, keep growing and keep progressing and keep developing as coaches, and really continue to grow and develop his own staff, and not just the players, but really work on developing himself and developing the coaches underneath him and working with those guys, and building a true coaching staff and not a staff of assistants. And that really, really speaks to his character and how I think a team should be built. So, very pleased with that decision and what that can mean for our team going forward as well. So defensive line is going to be staying the same. Defensive line, wide receiver, Robert Prince as well. He's a fantastic wide receivers coach. Bo Davis, same thing. A lot of respect his way for what he's done with the defensive line for the most part. Last year injuries sucked, so not really too much credit can be given there. But again, working with UDFA type guys. So we move on to the linebacker position, and last year, our linebackers coach was, let me see if I can actually pull this up. His name was Al Golden. And for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Al Golden, he was a tight end as a player. He played tight end for the New England Patriots and then became an offensive coordinator at the high school level, worked his way up through the offensive ranks before becoming a defensive coach at Boston College, Penn State, Virginia, and then a head coach at Temple and Miami. Then, when he got fired by Miami after a string of very bad years, including discipline issues, several scandals and issues with Miami over the course of his entire tenure, we hired him to be our tight ends coach, and he helped not develop Eric Ebron. So we decided it would be a great idea to move him to linebackers coach to work with Jared Davis and company. And he didn't really develop Jared Davis and company either. So we finally fired him, long story short, and we now have what we believe to be in the linebacker role. It's possible he's hired in some other capacity, but it's probably going to be linebackers. Tyrone McKenzie, who was the linebackers coach last year for the Tennessee Titans. So, because of how much we all know about Al Golden, I'll let Daniel go into his little rant here on what he thinks about Al Golden.
Al Golden, it just sounds like the dude can't coach. He wasn't, from what I understand, a very good coach in Miami. He came here. He wasn't a very good tight ends coach. Didn't really develop anyone. And then he transferred over to linebackers, where Jared Davis took a major step back in his development compared to previous years, rather than taking a step forward. And so, like, I'm sorry, but Al Golden just looks like he can't coach, and I'm glad that he's no longer a part of the organization.
Cool. Keelan, do you have any thoughts on Al Golden?
From what you guys described, I don't know too much about him personally, but he doesn't seem like he was a very good coach. So if we can move on and improve on that, and we did, hopefully that'll be better.
Cool. So any thoughts on Tyrone McKenzie from any of you guys?
Tyrell McKenzie, from what I understand, the reason that he left Tennessee to join Detroit in basically the same role, it looked like, is that he was majorly pissed that he didn't get the vacant DC job
Yep.
for Tennessee. After it sounds like Dean Pease retired, and so like Tennessee's linebacking core was really good this year. They were really a strong unit. Tennessee in general just kind of has a lot of the elements that of their culture that Detroit is kind of looking to build.
True.
And so bringing in a dude like McKenzie, I believe his name is,
Yep. Tyrone McKenzie.
is just a great addition. I like it. I like the fact that he's coming from Tennessee, was successfully built a model under Vrabel for what a New England Patriots way looked like. And so, yeah, no complaints from me on this hire.
Cool. Keelan?
Yeah, I agree. The Titans' defense was really good last year, and I'm really pleased with the hire. And I think he could definitely help improve and develop Jared Davis and Tavai, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with that linebacker room this year.
Yeah, I agree. So a little bit more background for those of you guys unfamiliar with McKenzie. He was a former New England Patriots draft pick, I believe. I don't remember if he got drafted by the Patriots. I know he played there. Yep, he did get drafted by the Patriots by Matt Patricia when he was the linebackers coach. And then he ended up going to Tampa Bay and spent a few years with the Minnesota Vikings as well before he retired and became a coach. Spent a year with the Los Angeles Rams under Sean McVay as their special teams coach before moving to the Tennessee Titans with Mike Vrabel as their linebackers coach. 34 years old, so very young, and also another one of those guys, very high energy, very active, very vocal. There's videos up on him on the Titans Twitter page where it kind of just shows him like literally going in, and he's the guy who like always like falls into the bags and like gets like right in there, shows guys how to do the drills, and one of those really hands-on teaching coaches that should really help with the player development aspect of coaching. And maybe not one of those guys who's necessarily going to be one of those like la di da di da, I'm going to go in and basically do what Matt Patricia tells me to do type of guys. He's going to go in there, he's going to run his drills, he's going to develop his players, he's going to work these players' booties off, and make sure that they understand that their job is to work and get better every single day. I think that that's the kind of culture that we need to build. I think that's the kind of culture Matt Patricia wants to build here. And while they might not be the yes men type of guys that I think we had in previous year or two, the kind of changes that they're going to bring him, Unlin, and some of the other position coaches that we've already talked about are really going to be a positive benefit to that. And I think that comes back to Daryl Bevel and what we saw with Daryl Bevel last year. Completely different type of guy than what we all thought Matt Patricia was going to bring in. We all thought that he was going to go for this Patriots tie, type of yes man, do what I want to do, control the ball on offense type of offensive coordinator. And he did the exact opposite of that, brought in a guy who really wanted to emphasize Matthew Stafford's strengths and wasn't necessarily a ball control type of possession type of offensive coordinator. But yet it worked out fantastic for our offense last year when Matthew Stafford was here. And Matt Patricia saw that, and he grew as a coach, and he brought in coaches who might not fit exactly what he wants to do, but really fit his idea of what he wants in a coach, more so than what he wants in a system or a style or whatever. That'll help bring him his culture and develop a type of players and the work ethic and just the general vibe and feel for the team that I feel he wants to bring to Detroit. So, unfortunately, we haven't hired a defensive backs coach at this point in time just yet. So we can't really talk about that, but we did release Brian Stewart from the defensive backs job as well. So I'll let you guys give a couple of quick thoughts on that position as well.
Nope, no particular thought. There is potential, though. I do think there is potential that Unland could also take on that role as well, as being the defensive coordinator, considering the fact that he doesn't look like he'll be calling plays, as far as I'm aware.
Right. Yep.
Maybe he could take on that role. I don't know. Just a thought.
Keelan?
Yeah, I agree with Daniel. I think could take on that role. I'm not really sure of any other candidates so far.
Okay, what do you guys think about the job that our defensive backs coach Brian Stewart did last year? I guess is really where I'm going with that.
Overall, like defensive backs, we failed to develop Tease Tabor, but it's worthwhile to ask the question whether or not the clay was simply defective in Tease Tabor, or whether or not he wouldn't have worked out anyway.
Right.
What we do know is that Tracy Walker was developed and groomed for a role that he filled well last year. And Harris did not look out of place on an NFL field this year. So overall, I'm fine with the development of our defensive backs thus far under Patricia. And I hope that whoever the new coach is continues that pathway.
Cool. Keelan?
Yeah, I think our defensive backs performed fairly well. I mean, Amanio had a pretty good rookie year. Coleman exceeded expectations. Walker, Harris just sort of just further developed, and they had a good year. So if our new DB coach can further improve that, and if we bring in Okuda, help develop him, although he's one of the best corner prospects we've seen. If we can just help ease his transition into the NFL, I think it'll be good for us.
I think that the one thing that we might be forgetting about too, there's actually 2 points that I bring up, and I think that these 2 points are kind of combined into why we left on Stewart. The first one is the drop off of Darius Slay. I feel like that was a pretty significant blemish on what he was able to do as a coach. Darius Slay went down to 56.9 coverage grade, 48.5 run defense / tackling grade, 0 pass rush snaps, so no pass rushing ability from him last year. That's having that significant drop off with Darius Slay was part of the reason why. And then also just the run defense and tackling in general. Tons of missed tackles on the back end last year, specifically from the safeties, outside Tracy Walker. And even Tracy Walker only had a 64.4 run defense last year, even though he had over 110 tackles. So kind of just filling that run defense, tackling type of physical role with the defensive backs. I feel like what was really missing there. And that's the kind of role that I think we're really going to look for in our new defensive backs coach going forward. So one more coach we I'd love to talk about is the special teams coach, and that is firing John Bonamako and the hiring of Braden Coombs. So I don't know which one you guys want to take that one on first.
Uh, Special teams play is not my forte, so I'll stay out of this one.
Okay, Keelan.
Yeah, I mean, I really couldn't. I'm really not sure as to either,
Okay, then.
honestly.
So I guess I'll take this one. John Bonamego was actually, for the most part, pretty good last year. The kicking it short mantra that we tried out last year seemed to be working out pretty well for the most part. I believe we had the lowest starting field position on average on kickoff plays last year. So that whole idea seemed to work out fairly well. I don't know if that's something that's going to continue with Coombs or not. We're going to have to just wait and find that out. But it should be interesting to see how that pull progression changes going forward. But yeah, overall, Vanamago, pretty decent year. Even Jamal Agnew, the return type of plays that we had last year, while inconsistent at times, also showed some flashes of being very, very high potential. So pretty pleased with the development of that area. However, I will say the beginning of the year, personnel management on that side of things was dramatically horrible. I don't know whose idea it was to put Darius Slay as our primary vice on special teams, but Darius Slay should not be a primary blocker on special teams. And honestly, probably shouldn't even be a primary gunner on special teams either. So, yeah, personnel management was at times despicable, and the inconsistencies with Agnew at times I feel like were part of that issue as well. And the punting of Sam Martin, well, he was not bad. He was about average for someone with his potential and ceiling. I think the expectations were to be a little bit higher than they were last year. And that unit and changing the field and flipping the script and flipping the field. So while he was good, I think that the ceiling is a little bit higher than what we were expecting, and we're going to see that with Coombs. Last year, Cincinnati had the number one special teams unit in the entire NFL last year. He that Between him and Darren Simmons, who's going to be retained by Cincinnati, those two guys did a fantastic job with that Cincinnati special teams unit last year. And they didn't even really have a whole lot of elite pieces to work with either. So Coombs gets to come in, work with Matt Prager, work with Jamal Agnew, both very high ceiling guys, Pro Bowl - all pro potential guys at their positions. And whoever our punter is gets to work on developing that punter role as well. So definitely someone who I'm also, like the other guys, am really excited to see what he brings to the table in terms of uh, promoting and upgrading the potential and the development of those particular units. And especially as someone who values special teams as much as Matt Patricia does, I'm really optimistic about the potential growth that we're going to be able to see from that unit this year. And I have expectations to be a top 5 special teams unit next year. And hopefully it's even better than that. Anything short of top 10, I think, would be very disappointing, given the expectations. Barring some kind of injury or anything like that, of course, if Matt Prater were to injure himself or something, then things change. But uh, I really do think that the expectations for that unit, even without seeing the base of the roster, should be pretty high going into next season. So, any overarching thought on the coaches, the coaching staffs that you want to have, that you want guys want to throw out there? Keelan, I'll let you go first because I know you have to go soon.
There's nothing more I wanted to add. I think I gave my opinion on the guys, and I'm just hoping the new additions fit in well and can work with the players well and further improve this team and defense on the defensive side especially.
Cool. Well, thank you for stopping by. And
Yes.
I know you have to go, so I'll let you do your thing.
Awesome.
But do you have any other plugs that you want to say before you?
No, thank you for having me on. And have fun the rest of the way, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Cool. Sounds good. See you in the
Bye.
group chat.
Alright, bye.
Cool. So, Daniel, your thoughts on the coaching staff in general that we've assembled so far?
I mean, like overall, I I don't have very nice things to say about Matt Patricia's performance in general. Um, in, in the past couple seasons, I know that there are extenuating circumstances around that, and we can debate whether it's not to what degree he holds the bag for the poor results in the past few years. But overall, like these additions, maybe they bring a little bit of energy. Maybe they shake things up a little bit, and hopefully that's what happens. Um, I can't say I am the super deep coaching list of 150 coaches like you are, Chris. So I'll defer to your expertise on that end of things. But overall, not 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 too bad. Not nothing that really excites me except for McKenzie. So
Cool. So, that would conclude the coaching portion of this, I guess, breakdown. That's probably the best way to put it. So, we have one more thing I'd like to go over with you, at least one more thing I'd like to go over with you, and that's a potential draft scenario. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to do a Lions 7-round mock using the TDM predictive board. This is again pre-combine. We're doing this Thursday morning dash Wednesday night. So we haven't seen any combine times or results or anything yet. So keep that in mind. We're using the current TDM predictive board as of February 27th. So you ready to get started with this? And you'll get
yep.
cool. And this will be kind of cool because we've been kind of using you as like our free agent pro guy. So you'll get your chance to talk about the draft a little bit. So of course the first two picks are going to be Chase and Joe Burrow.
So I think that Okuda's the dude here. You can make a case for Brown. I like Brown a lot. I think not as much as you, but I do like Brown. I think he's a top 3 guy on my board. So either Brown or Okuda, depending on where the need is felt most, would be fine by me here.
Cool. You said Okuda is the guy, so I'm going to take Okuda for you then. Interesting. I like that. Oh, Josh Jones 11. Oh, I like Caleb on there. Chip Gladney double. Noah Igbenogany at 20. Oh, okay. I need to do a breakdown on him soon. Austin Jackson. Cool. So we are back up. And also, if you need to see any
Grant
positions,
Delpit seems like the obvious choice here for me. Just a safety, good, solid, ideal for me.
if you need to see any particular positions at any point, let me know. So, like, if you want to say, oh, yeah, I want to take a running back or I want to take a receiver, I can pull up the position
Yep.
boards too. But you say you want to go Delpit here?
Yep.
Cool. Trey Dix to the Panthers. I like that. Ashton Davis. Oh, man. KJ Hamler to Philly. Josh Uche to the Texans. Oh, man. Okay, we're up again.
Here's where things start to get a little bit tricky because I start to lose ability to learn the names of all these guys. I haven't yet been able to fully immerse myself in draft coverage, like some of you guys here. But go to running back.
Okay. There's actually quite a few good running backs left, so pretty good position to look at here.
I like Cam Akers.
So do I. Want to take him here?
Yeah.
Sean Lawrence, interesting defensive tackle prospect. Troy Dye from linebacker. Kyle Duggar. There goes Bradley Nye to the Bills. Someone pretty interesting there. Okay, we're back up.
Can you go to quarterback?
Jalen Hurts is going to be the number one guy by a long shot.
Crap.
I mean, yeah, it's like 100 points difference.
I wanted from. But yeah, I defer to your expertise at this point. I'm somewhat lost.
Cool. So one position that we haven't addressed yet is edge. So what do you think about Kenny Wilkes?
I have no opinions.
Cool. Kenny Wilkes, a Senior Bowl guy, and there goes Jim Hurts. Guy who found a lot of success under our scheme in Mobile. Had a really nice week with the coaching staff down there. Him and Josh Uche both. Local guys as well, so you get the chance to work them out with our local physics private workouts for free, basically, at the end of the process. So that'll help us evaluating them. Sweet.
Can we take a look at wide receiver? Pittman looks pretty good to me.
Yep.
This time around. So
yeah, I'd say for me it would be between Pittman and Elliott. It really just depends on what you want to go for. And there goes Elliott to Philly. Okay.
Yeah, I'm lost at this point. Go for it.
So a couple guys that stand out to me at this point are the two offensive guards that are left from Michigan, Bryson and Onwenu. Onwenu really fixed that power run blocking role. Huge dude. Absolute behemoth of a man. So he intrigues from that standpoint. Defensive tackle depth, unfortunately, at this point is kind of worn out, so I don't really think we're going to be able to get anyone impactful in that area, unless I'm forgetting someone. Garrett Marino is somewhat interesting, a little bit, maybe. But yeah, otherwise, defensive tackle depth is basically gone at this point. Linebackers, other than Joe Bacci, not really a huge fan of many of, if any of these guys that I've seen so far. So unless you want to go with Bacci, not really any linebackers left at this point. We already took Okuda, so I'm not sure if you want to double dip on corners. I already took Delpit, so I don't think you want to double dip on safeties. I already took Akers, so I'm not sure if you want to double dip on running back. In terms of edge rushers, same kind of deal. Maybe Mike Dinga or Carter Coughlin, but both of those guys are a little bit undersized. So not really sure how we feel about that. Other than Throckmorton or Runyon or Ankrum, I've never even heard of most of these offensive tackles.
Go to quarterback? Anthony Gordon's a dude that I would draft at some point.
Okay, probably at 162. He should still be there, I would think.
Yeah.
So do you want to go with a linebacker - special teams type guy in Jobachi? Or do you want to go with a really, really deep defensive lineman in Marino? I believe he was one of PFF's higher graded guys, but yeah. And then you also have the potential to go with offensive guard in Onwenu or Bredesen if you want a power blocker.
Yeah, let's go with the guard.
Cool. Do you want to go with Bredesen or Onwenu? Bredesen a little bit more your traditional Lions build, a little bit more athletic, a little bit more zone guy than Onwenu is. Probably a little bit better pass protector than Onwenu is. Whereas Onwenu is like your 350 pound, 6'7", I think he is, right? 6'3", 350 pound, like power run blocker.
Onwenu sounds good to me.
Cool. And there goes Bacci. There goes Bredesen. And yeah, we should be able to go with Gordon here, you said?
Yep.
Cool. Gordon, another Senior Bowl guy as well. So there we go. That will conclude the Lions draft. So overall, after all the picks, we have Okuda, Delpit, Akers, Wilkes, Pittman, Onwenu, and Gordon. Any positions that you think we left out? Any positions that you want to upgrade that we didn't get the chance to? There's one in particular that stands out to me.
Ideally, you want to be able to get at interior defensive line, but that was not something that I felt appropriate after we picked Okuda rather than Brown. So is what it is.
But overall, what do you think about the rest of the team? Corner, safety, running back, edge, wide receiver, right guard.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think that Okuda and Delpit really helped solidify the secondary.
Yeah.
Cam Akers is a dude that I like at running back. You can throw him in with Carry On and let the two battle it out.
Pass protection
Pittman
is fun
is
to watch.
Kind of a pardon?
Cam Akers, his pass protection is fun. Maybe not the most refined guy, but he is very high motor effort guy in that area of his game.
Right. Pittman is just kind of like a wide receiver depth pick. Onwenu is just kind of a guy that you can develop alongside maybe a veteran starter like a Bushi or someone. And Gordon is just
You're back.
just an interesting flyer at quarterback that I kind of dig. So overall, I'm fine with this draft.
Yeah, I
What
really
do you
like
think?
Pittman value. He's fantastic. He's one of my favorite players in the entire class. Onwenu is very interesting, especially considering your point earlier about wanting more of your run blocking type of right guard. He'd be a great fit for that role, and really adding to that power of the front, the size of the front, the physicality, and the strength of the front. Gordon, as you mentioned, is a really interesting schematic fit, very open type of passer, high percentage completion rate type of guy, very efficient. Pittman also has a little bit of special teams ability as well, as does Akers if we need to utilize those areas of their games. And Wilkes adds to the pass rush a little bit as well. Pretty good run defender along the end would be a very nice Wakora upgrade. Two gap experience as well, I believe. So face that kind of necessary requirement. At least I feel like he could do it without too much. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with him, you can see his profile on the left of the screen. So definitely like his fit here as well, especially later on, getting that rotational pass rusher. Tackling as well, I forgot to bring that up. Yeah, a little bit less of a strength dude, but I don't really too much about that. 6'4", he'll probably put on a little bit more weight than 250. I don't know where he came in at in Indy. So, yeah, definitely get to upgrade the offense with this. You get Akers, Gordon, and Pittman, and the right guard Onwenu, but also really get to add to that pass defense, as you talked about with the Greg Delpit in coverage and Wilkes as pass rushers. So, the one thing for me, though, is, as you just mentioned earlier, I really would need to have a huge defensive tackle free agency class for this to work. Because I mean, like if we go out and add like Chris Jones and DJ Reader or something, like two like really good defensive tackles, I think it goes over a lot better. But completely skipping over the defensive tackle position, I think is a little bit risky for my taste.
Yeah, for sure.
So, any other thoughts that you have on the draft, or any players that you'd like to see us target going forward? Any guys that you've heard good things about that you want to give a shout out to?
I haven't really followed the draft yet. I'm hoping to get a little bit more acquainted with it. But yeah, this isn't something that I've looked into deeply yet. So yeah.
Cool. So, any particular free agent plans you get to sign, say, 2 or 3 of free agents within the budget, within your 30 whatever mil it is that we have to spend, actively spend, not total cap space. Who are your 2 or 3 guys that you really like to see most?
Danny Shelton, DJ Reader, and Dominic Sue. I think it is also a free agent as well. So
Yep. Very interesting. So, any other thoughts that you want to get out? Lions, drafts, free agency, football
not
season,
really,
Super Bowl.
not really. I think that overall, we really need to improve our defensive line, and that needs to be first priority. Second priority needs to be looking at how do we take our secondary from okay to great. Third priority needs to be examining how do we get our offensive line in a good spot to run block and maybe get a little bit better there. So outside of that, got nothing.
Sweet. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Daniel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, learned a
Thank
thing
you.
or two along the way as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more future content like this over the course of the next coming months, and I guess with this kind of thing, years maybe. We'll see. But for now, definitely check out some of our draft coverage. We go over all the draft prospects and things like that here. That's primarily what I do for the channel, so feel free to check those things out if you're into the draft and that particular area of the off season. But for now, hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and peace out.